Now, the problem with a funnel is, however, that we expect things to happen automatically. And, when you think of a real funnel, you just pour water at the top and it comes down the bottom. And unfortunately, it doesn't really work like that. And the hard thing is when you stop pouring things into the top, nothing comes out the bottom.
Are you frustrated by a lack of momentum in your business? Tired of putting in long hours doing what everyone says you should and still not making money? Sounds like you're ready for Lifestyle Builders. We'll help you get back on track, taking action, and seeing results. Head over to joinlifestylebuilders.com today to get started. Pat Flynn is a father, husband, and entrepreneur who lives and works in San Diego, California. He owns several online businesses and is a professional blogger, keynote speaker, Wall Street Journal best-selling author, and host of the Smart Passive Income and Ask Pat podcasts, which have earned a combined total of over 55 million downloads, multiple awards, and features in publications such as the New York Times and Forbes. He's also an advisor to ConvertKit, Lead Pages, Teachable, and other companies in the digital marketing arena. All right, you guys, we are so excited to have Pat on the show today to share all the wisdom and just interesting lessons that he's learned in his entrepreneurship journey.
Yeah, well, most people likely know Pat, but if you don't, Pat is the founder of Smart Passive Income. And, I know for, us as well as for a lot of other entrepreneurs, Pat's been a really just, I think, shining light in the online business space where he's been very transparent about his journey, what worked, what hasn't worked. And, for several years was actually showing his income reports to basically show how much money he made, where he made it from, and the fact that it's actually possible to make money online. Mm-hmm. And, I think this was a groundbreaking thing when a lot of people were talking about making money online, but Pat was actually, he called himself the crash test dummy and was basically always just trying different things out. And it's been amazing to see his transformation over the years from just making money with affiliate products, getting into being a podcast host and a speaker and an author. And
well, in this episode, he calls it like moving away from the scrappy entrepreneur that he started out as into the CEO of his actual businesses.
Yeah. And I think that's one of my favorite things because so many of us start with a side hustle. And for Pat, it wasn't even really a side hustle. He was starting out by just taking an exam for his career, put a website up, and then when he lost his job, basically got to the point that many of us do, which is, well, do I go find another job or, do I, try to do something on my own? And, he went the route of doing something on his own. And it's been great to see all of that different stuff he was doing when he was the crash test dummy actually merge into really being that CEO, building a team, and now really building, not only a successful business, but a lot of what we talk about is how he has done that in a way to make sure that his family and all of that was always front and center.
All right. And with that, we will let you guys jump into this episode. All right, everyone, we are so beyond excited to have the Pat Flynn here with us today on the podcast. And before we get started, I just quickly have to tell you this because you'll probably find it funny. We were watching Stranger Things the other day and they had a Back to the Future reference and my mind immediately went to you. And I was like, hey, Pat. Oh, yeah, we're watching Stranger Things.
I watched this video on YouTube yesterday. It was like all the Easter eggs in Stranger Things 3, which, by the way, my favorite season of like any show ever I've ever seen.
Oh, good.
Like, it was so good. But the Back to the Future references like killed me. I was literally crying on the couch. My wife looks over and she goes, oh my gosh, you're just a nerd. I was crying. It was my favorite thing I've ever seen.
Well, I was going to say, I think any 80s kid is just watching that show like, oh yes, I remember.
All those things.
Dude, so I had the little black robot that was like there in the beginning in episode 1. And I just, all the things, Stranger Things, the best. I'm a super fan.
Man, I love it. You are a super fan, which is why you wrote Superfans.
Let's slip that in there a little bit.
Slip it.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely talk about Superfans.
Yes.
So kicking things off, Lifestyle Builders, a big thing we focus on is building your business to support your life. And, from following your journey, from meeting you several times, I know that's a big focus for you. So one of my first questions is, how has that work-life integration changed over the years? As business has gotten bigger, as you've gotten into more things, just take us through a little bit of what you've learned along that journey.
Yeah, the lifestyle and the business designing for my life has definitely changed over time. And a lot of it has changed as I've grown as a business owner, as I've sort of unlocked new abilities, if you will. And the biggest thing, unlocking new confidence. I think over time, as I become more confident as a business owner and realizing the skills that I have, I've been okay at, putting work into other people's hands, hiring a team, for example. I've been a lot smarter at planning ahead. So I'm not playing a reactive role in my business, but I'm being proactive, and I can actually start planning when I'm going to take longer breaks or when certain vacations are going to happen. That wasn't happening before. Before, when I started out after I got laid off in 2008, before I had kids, it was literally just, okay, I need to survive, right? Like I lost all this income. I need to get this income back. And the cool thing about that was, getting laid off, number one, best thing that ever happened to me. That focused me on so many things that I wouldn't have focused on otherwise. I guarantee you I wouldn't have built a business unless I had that pressure. And number two, it got me to take action, bold action that I wouldn't normally have taken. I wouldn't have invested in an online course. I wouldn't have gone to an actual mastermind meeting, putting myself in probably the most uncomfortable situation of my life, being an introvert especially, and then putting myself out there and sharing what my plans were for my business, and then in return getting all this amazing feedback. So little moments even in the beginning like that were continually unlocking new abilities for me that I didn't even know I had. So that pressure that I had in the beginning was really key. And then I think the next major sort of mindset shift was actually back in 2009. So this was a few months, maybe 6 months after I started my business. I haven't told this to very many people, but I was actually still searching for an architecture job because I just didn't believe that I was supposed to be an entrepreneur. I was like, oh, I didn't go to business school. Like, who am I to create something? Like, this would be letting my parents down. If I became an entrepreneur, like my parents paid my way through college, like I'd be letting them down if I went this new direction. And I eventually had to let go of who I thought I was supposed to be and grab onto this new space. And I think that's a big thing that a lot of people don't do. They don't fully let go from where they were before they move on to the next thing. And the analogy I like to use is it's like a ladder, right? You're climbing the ladder. Maybe it's like the corporate ladder you're climbing on, right? Maybe you get laid off. Maybe you see something else that you want to do. And it's this ladder that's next to you that goes even higher. And you see that it takes you to amazing places, but you cannot climb that new ladder until you fully let go of that other ladder. And what I was doing during those 6 months is I had one hand on this ladder and I had another hand on the other ladder. You can only go so far when you do that, right? You have to let go. And thankfully, I had confidence to let go. I had a support system, both in my personal life with my wife, but also I connected with a lot of other entrepreneurs who were going to be there to make sure that if I were to slip off that ladder, they would at least boost me back up to where I was. And those were really key things. And then late 2009, a big shift was I had a kid, and that that changed everything because I was a workaholic. I was working 12, 16 hours a day because I could and because I loved it. But then I eventually found out that we only have so many hours in the day, and I could either dedicate certain hours to work or I could dedicate certain hours to my family and my kid. And so I really started paying attention there to, okay, where am I going to choose to spend my time now? And how effective is that time going to be? And I started realizing that a lot of time that I was spending in my business was on little things that I thought were important that weren't actually important. It really made me question, okay, well, am I doing things that are actually important, that are actually moving the needle here? Or am I just number one, doing things that are fun but not moving the needle? Or number two, just doing busy work because I feel like that's going to move the needle even though it won't. And I started noticing that I started spending a lot of time in things that weren't actually bigger, bolder decisions that were actually going to move the needle. And that allowed me to understand what would be effective. That allowed me to understand. And actually, the cool thing is since having a kid, I've become the most productive person in the world. I've been able to accomplish so much more in a shorter period of time because I know if I waste my time doing work or if I, lose my head in a YouTube rabbit hole, I've just taken that time away from my kids. I literally think that. And so that's what drives me. And then I had a second kid. But in 2013, I really made a big mindset decision to turn off my scrappy entrepreneur sort of reactor mode and then start becoming a proactive CEO. And that's when I started to get really into planning with, when am I going to launch certain courses? What are my goals for these course launches? Who am I going to hire on the team to, even though they spend money, I know how much my time is worth. And I'd much rather spend money having somebody else edit my podcast versus doing it myself. Even though I know how to do it, even though I'm great at it, I shouldn't be doing this anymore. There are bigger things that I need to be focusing on, like building relationships or what have you. So, I mean, that's just a little bit of a timeline. And then over time, I mean, there's been more things that I've unlocked. I mean, my ability as a speaker unlocked in 2011. My ability as a writer was able to unlock. And I've realized that a lot of these things that I'm working and investing a lot of time on now, like time on stage or books, can then become ways to automate a lot of processes that normally I would have had to do on my own in person individually. And that's what I love about these things. You can invest time up front now so that things continue to work for you later without you having to always be there. And that's where lifestyle design really comes into play for me. It's investing time up front to create something that gives you freedom in the future. Investing time now, reap the benefits later. And now I plan for that. Now I build for that. Before it was just kind of, well, I'll figure it out as I go.
I love that analogy of the two ladders, but there's one thing that you mentioned in there that I think is really, really important. And that was that you had a support system. Mm-hmm. And part of your support system is your spouse.
Yes.
Because we work together, we get a lot of people that, ask us like, how do you guys work together without killing each other, basically? Or, how did you do this without, because originally I didn't support the businesses and becoming an entrepreneur. So they want to know, like, how did you get Ariana on board with things and how did she become okay with it? So how did you and April, I know she was supportive, but how did you guys kind of decide what your roles were going to be as things were shifting, as you were getting laid off and then, you started this business, but then you became parents and your life was just constantly changing?
Yeah, I think a big thing for us is just always being open and honest with each other about how we were feeling right from the get-go. That's something that really attracted me to her when we were dating, right? And so I think that bled forward into after we became married and just it became something. And honestly, she didn't sign up for this, right? I was an architect when we got engaged.
Same thing here, yep.
I was an architect when we got engaged. And what really helped me was understanding like the day I got laid off that no matter what, she was always going to be there for me. And that's what we signed up for is no matter what, we're always going to be there for each other. And that was absolutely key. But all along the way, always being honest and upfront with each other. My plans to be an entrepreneur were not left unsaid. I was like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What are your thoughts on this? And we just had honest conversations about that. And I think the other big thing is realizing that, as long as we were there for each other, we weren't going to be like homeless, right? Like we often think about the worst things possible. Like we're not going to be, if this doesn't work, we're not going to die. Right. Which we often get in our own way and think about that. Like we had thankfully like support from friends. If we needed to crash on a couch for a couple months, we could ask people to do that. Do we want to do that? Definitely not. But if we had to, and we were at the worst case scenario, it's actually not as bad as we initially thought it was going to be. Right. Because in my head, I was like, oh my God, we got laid off. I'm never going to get a job. We're going to like get food stamps. Not that food stamps are bad. Those are great because they support people who can't afford them. But I was like thinking about the most negative things. But then when you actually think about what can happen, it's like, whoa, okay. We actually have a little bit more room than we thought we did. This is encouraging because now I can begin to start taking a little bit of risks, which are needed when you're designing your own lifestyle, knowing that, well, even if this fails, you're actually going to be okay, Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and the other thing that I heard as you were talking through all of that is really the mindset. And that's something I don't think a lot of people realize. And as you grow, that's something that continues to have to up level as well. Like, when we started, same thing. Like we've noticed most people are like, I just want to make enough money to take care of my family, right? I want to make sure that I can pay rent, put food on the table. And then as entrepreneurs, we get to this weird point where that's taken care of. And I've found, I don't know what your experience has been, that a lot of us get kind of lost because we're like, okay, our whole reason for doing this was our family. And now that that's taken care of, we don't really know kind of what is our driver beyond that. And I know for you, you've been able to find different things to kind of, move that forward. You mentioned relationships. What we found is that it's been relationships and it's been the impact. So just talk to me a little bit of, once you had things taken care of with your family, what was then the shift that made a difference for you there?
Well, the shift was really an internal look at, okay, I'm here now. I got my goal of survival. Like, what else could I do? What are my options out there? And I got a lot of inspiration from listening to other podcasts where people interviewed successful people. Because I was like, okay, everybody has a different definition of success. I don't even know what success could be because I didn't know I could be here, right? So I'm here now. Give me a menu of where I could go. And so I was like on a podcast sort of hook for a while. I was subscribed to 20 different interview shows and it was purposeful. It wasn't just because I just loved consuming content. I mean, I got to a point where eventually I was like, okay, I know where I want to go now on all the podcasts.
See you later.
Let's start taking action. But I think it was smart of me to go back and just go, okay, I need a menu. I need a grocery list of like all the different options I could do for success, because I don't even know what I want, but I need to know what's out there first, right? It's just like when you ask like a 5-year-old, like, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's like, it's not really fair because they don't know what there is to be, right? And so, you know, I have a lot of goals in education for kids. And one of those things is just giving access to kids, like all the options that there might be. But anyway, that's another topic. But for me, I needed access to, okay, well, where could I go with this? Like, what could this become? I have certain things that I want to be always true, like making sure that I am always going to be there for my family, making sure that I have freedom in my time, making sure I'm not wearing a suit every day. I didn't want to do that anymore, which led me to certain decisions. Like, for example, I had the opportunity, fairly recently to create a hosting company. I have a large audience. If I created a hosting company that I trusted and it was good servers, etc., we would kill it. Like, it could become a multi-million, 9, 10-figure business if, things pan out right. But here's the thing, that comes with also moving to Utah and doing this other stuff. And I was like, no, like that doesn't fit into what I want, because that doesn't fit my definition of success anymore, right? If I were a struggling business owner and I didn't consider, well, I actually do have options, then I might say yes to any opportunity, right? And maybe that's good, maybe that's bad, but the problem is when you say yes to something and you just like aren't paying attention to how it makes you feel, how happy you are, how it affects the other people around you, then all of a sudden 10 years you're into it and maybe you are successful on paper, but then you're unhappy. Well, that's not success to me. So I always want to make sure I'm happy. But anyway, I got this huge, like, inspirational, these podcasts that I was listening to. And then I started to go, oh, I like that person's style. I like that person, how they're dealing with their family, even though they're successful. Oh, I'm not really a fan of building software companies right now. Oh, I like how this person did this. And I just went, okay, I'm going to choose this person as a mentor and this person is somebody who's doing it in the right way. And I'm just going to follow them and just build like that. And then I got to a point where, wow, we have excess money now. And now I can, donate to certain organizations who are building schools around the world, because that's important to me. And like, that was like the next level. Like, whoa, there's excess now. Like, we're living way beyond our meat. Like, we're making way more than we're spending. Like, let's help others now. And then now it's at a point where I'm getting access to companies as an advisor and an investor, like angel investor kind of stuff. And now I'm following people who are in that world doing that thing, because that's how they're making an even bigger impact. Should I have gone to them in the beginning? No, because I'm leveling up. I'm taking steps there. And there's probably going to be a point where maybe it's like, okay, I'm done. Like, I'm exactly where I'm at, and I just want to keep it that way. But for right now, I'm continually being motivated, as long as the family stuff stays top priority. And for me right now, especially with the young kids, I'm doing all I can, and that's it.
So I love the fact that you were talking through that. The thing that kept standing out to me was the intentionality, because there's people that say yes to every opportunity, and while there's some truth to that, that's part of how you get ahead, is by saying yes. What I also heard was say yes to every opportunity that fits within your vision and your life. Like you said, you could have made a lot of money with that, and yeah, sure, that would have served your audience in a certain way, but what I see you doing, and with just about every decision that I see you make, it is very much serving that audience and that mission. Whether it is speaking to entrepreneurs on stage, whether it is releasing a different podcast, or whether it is writing books, which you have a second book coming out. So I love the fact that you have a lot of opportunities now. And, what most people don't realize is the more successful you get, really the more opportunities that come up. And it's a lot more difficult to say no, because they seem like such bigger opportunities than you've ever had before. So with that, talk to me a little bit about, why does writing books or speaking on stages, why is that the right opportunity for you? And then what was really the motivation behind writing your latest book, Superfans?
Yeah, I mean, I think writing books is an amazing thing for any brand or business, because it kind of puts your foot in the ground and says things should be this way, right? And people look for leaders to follow. If you write a book that pleases everybody, if you write a book because just you want to write a book and it doesn't really like take a stance on something, then it's not going to be read. And even if it were to be read, it's just going to be average, right? So I think a book is important for you to start to define who you are, to start to define what working with you would be like, to start to define how you do what you do. Because that's when a person then can go, wow, I like what this person said. They wrote the book on it. Then, I want to get coaching from them, or I need to buy their products because I like their style, right? And a book, of course, just on the surface level is like a big business card as well. It helps you get a little access to different stages, different people, different podcasters. It says something about you. And what's cool is now there's tools that allow us to self-publish books, yet still get enough credit for them, right? And build authority through that. It also becomes a great way to start to automate certain funnels that you might have. A funnel is important because it allows people to start to be introduced to you right at the top of the funnel, right? So a book can be that lever. And then a certain percentage of those readers can turn into email subscribers. A certain percentage of those email subscribers can turn into customers. And a certain percentage of those customers can then, go up and level up to your, master program at a much higher level, right? And that's a funnel. That's cool. And that's one way you can design your lifestyles using these different kinds of funnels and entry points, a book being one of them, stage being one of them, your website being one of them, a podcast being one of them, to bring people into the top of the pyramid and just kind of have them come down into your ecosystem. Now, the problem with a funnel is, however, that we expect things to happen automatically. And, when you think of a real funnel, you just pour water at the top and it comes down the bottom. And unfortunately, it doesn't really work like that. And the hard thing is when you stop pouring things into the top, nothing comes out the bottom. Right? And this book, Superfans, is actually the flip of a funnel. If you look at it, like if you imagine your user base is the opposite of a funnel, it's like a triangle, right? A pyramid. The largest portion of your audience, no matter what it is you're building, no matter who it is that you're serving, the largest portion of your audience is your casual audience. These are the people who just found you. They just found you through an ad. They just found you through social media for the first time, a link, a Google search or something. This is your largest part, which is where we're building our audiences mostly. Spending money on ads, search engine optimization. We're building from the ground, but we need to work up this pyramid and convert some of those people to then our active subscribers and convert some of them to our connected community where they feel like they belong to something. And then up there at the top are your super fans. And if I were to ask you, where are most of your repeat customers coming from? Where is most of your engagement? Where is most of your referral traffic coming from? Is it coming from the large portion at the bottom or the small super fans in the community at the top? It's coming from the top. So why is it then that everybody's focusing on growing their pyramid from the bottom up? It's because we're seeing it as a funnel and that's where we start. No. What about the people who are there already? That's what's going to differentiate your brand from others, those experiences, those magical moments that you create over time that bring those people up the pyramid. Gravity still is at play here. It's harder. It takes work. But this is where you start to future-proof your brand. You get those fans who are going to be there. Like if you had physical products, they would be camping outside of your store knowing that they're going to be the first to get access to it, right? Or if you're a musician, they're going to travel 8 hours to hear your set and then wait for you backstage. Or if you're coming out with a book, they're going to buy 100 copies before they even know exactly what the book is about, which I've had people email me and literally buy 100 copies of Superfans already because they are a superfan. Right? And this is something that every brand and business can have. And actually, my first superfan came from my architecture website, the first one that I created. There's a woman named Jackie. She emailed me and was like, Pat, thank you for helping me pass this exam. I finally was able to pass thanks to your study guide and all the questions I asked you. Thanks for being there for me. I'm a superfan, Jackie. And I was like, you're what? How are you? I just helped you pass it. I don't get this. I'm not an athlete or an actor or anything or Harry Potter or anything. I'm just Pat. I helped you pass an exam. But the funny thing was, over the next 2 months, I saw 25 customers come in from the same firm that she was at. She had convinced every single person at her firm. This one person convinced everybody to go and buy my guide too, even though it was an ebook. She could have literally just shared it with them for free. She wanted to make sure I got paid back because she liked how I did what I did, and she convinced everybody in her office to become a fan and purchase something, become a customer. And so one person can have a huge impact. Yet we're so worried about, let's pay for ads, let's do SEO and all these things that take time and literally are boring versus, hey, let's provide amazing experiences that can then build our brand from the inside out.
Well, I was going to say, just quick on that. So I loved a couple of years ago when I first heard you talk about this, because far too often, especially in the online world, it's funnels and automation and all of that. And it always reminds me back to a cable company. And cable companies do everything they can to acquire a customer. And then what do? After a year, your prices are more expensive. It's more difficult. And you actually have to cancel to then come back to get the discounts. And we've always been customer first. So when I first heard you talk about Superfans, I was like, finally, we've got people that are understanding it and sharing this message out to say, listen, if you take care of those raving fans, you will build a future-proof business. But it seems like everybody misses that. They're always going after, the next client rather than realizing they have them all around them anyways, and it's way easier to sell to them.
Right. Like, when have we heard a cable company, somebody who has a cable company, recommend that cable company to another cable company? We don't do that ever, right? It like, I would imagine there could be an opportunity for specifically the dry industry of cable companies to do some amazing things that would just blow people's minds, right? To have them not only continue to stay a customer, but to rave about them and share just, there's so many, any business of any kind has the opportunity to do this. And it's so important now, especially for anybody building a following, because guess what? It's getting harder to reach the people who have even voted and said, yes, I want to hear from you, because those social media channels are getting in the way. The algorithms are getting in the way because they got investors to pay and they want you to pay to play. But when you have super fans, those people are going to go out of their way to pay you because they love what you do so much that they would cry if their music was featured in a Stranger Things 3, film. So, you know what I mean? And it's like, those people can't stop talking about you. They are going to buy everything. They're going to be there to defend you from trolls if they show up. Like, this is future-proofing your brand and business. And what this allows for, too, in terms of lifestyle design, is knowing that you have an insurance policy in your business. Because, yes, you might stop paying for ads, or you might, be hurt by the algorithm for SEO. But if you have those super fans, you are guaranteed, no matter what you produce, that you will have customers. You are also guaranteed that you're going to be given a break every once in a while. So you can walk away from the business a little bit and have like your content to continue to come out, and people are just going to be waiting for you to come back and excited to work with you again. And this allows for flexibility as well. So this is the answer to how do you run a business today, in my opinion. And I think it's so important, especially in the environment we have now. This is agnostic to platform. This is agnostic to email, to size. This is the answer.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's been one of my biggest experiences as a customer of different things, is when you find a company or a brand that goes just that little one step above and beyond. It doesn't have to be a lot, but just knowing that, there's somebody behind there and they're recognizing the relationship with you and you're not just a number to them. It makes all the difference in the world, especially in today's society where, consumerism is rampant, and you've got to find a way to stand out, and you've got to find a way to connect with people, because otherwise you're just some other company, that they're scrolling past on Facebook.
For sure. And this book is chock full of all those different kinds of strategies. You can choose the best ones you want to use. But my favorite one, and you had mentioned it, it's just a little thing. And what people are craving is a little bit of attention and belonging. And one quick, easy way to do that is, if you have customers and they happen to be on social media, maybe they're not on social media, but that's okay. Send them a quick video. You can do it through a direct message on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or whatever. Send them a quick video, direct message, use their name, thank them, don't ask for anything in return. You will be blown away by the response, right? Because people are like, oh my gosh, like, you spent some time to reach out to me. Yeah, it was only 8 seconds. But what you're giving them is the fact that they're there. Mm-hmm. No other companies are doing this right now. And you have access to these tools right now. And it's so small, but it's so big too at the same time. And what you're doing here is you're digging the well before you need it. If you start digging the well when you need it, when you're thirsty, you're going to be dead, right? It's too late. It's too late, right? Digging that well now, meaning you are building that foundation for something that will provide for you over time later. That's the answer. And that's one of the many different kinds of ways that you can do that.
I love all these analogies.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're kindred spirits.
Tom's an analogy guy too. And I just love when I hear different ones that I'm like, oh, that's a really great analogy.
Oh, thank you.
All right. So obviously we want people to know where they can grab a copy of your book. But before that, can you give us just one kind of key takeaway from our discussion today about your journey so far?
Yeah. I mean, it makes me consider my own strategy. This book is about helping others build their businesses. And I think about, when I built my business, what were some of the most important takeaways? And yes, it was definitely building for magical moments for my audience over time. But I think one big important component was the fact that when I first started out, even though I didn't have any new money coming in, when I found mentors who I felt could really help me, I invested in them, knowing that I would, number one, get some really good information from them. But number two, also that investment would make me and force me to commit to what they were teaching me. And so I would just encourage all of you to, when you come across, some amazing people who can help you, which obviously you have a couple amazing hosts here who are helping you, you need to invest in your own future. And if you find those mentors who are there, who you really resonate with, who you vibe with, I mean, you have that opportunity to invest and receive so much more back. And I got to just give a big shout out to Jeremy and Jason from Internet Business Mastery, who were very active back in the day with helping entrepreneurs like me get started. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here today. And hopefully a lot of you got a lot of good information out of me being here, but obviously you're getting a lot of amazing stuff here from your hosts here today too. So just continue to invest in yourself, and you're going to find that you're going to have these opportunities to design your life in any which way you want. And that's the most amazing part.
All right. And we will, of course, include the link in the show notes page. But Pat, where can people grab a copy of Superfans?
Yeah, I mean, it's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. I heard might even be available at like airports, which has never happened before. That's kind of cool.
Nice.
Anyway, yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, I'm like, whoa, that's weird. I think my other book should have been at airports because it's more. It's called Will It Fly.
Yeah, it's so appropriate.
Or maybe it shouldn't, because if somebody was reading a book called Will It Fly on an airplane, maybe not a good idea. So scratch that. Never mind.
Touche.
Yeah, we're going down. So, get on Amazon. I mean, if they provide an affiliate link, go through that. And if just thank you so much for allowing me to share it. And I hope this little teaser gets you excited about ways that you can provide magical moments for your audience and build that client list to love you, and you can become their favorite too.
I love it.
Absolutely. Well, we've been super fans, so you're doing something right. You are literally writing the book on it, which is phenomenal. And thank you so much for everything you do and everything you'll continue to do.
And for coming on the show today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everybody.
All right, you guys, it's been another great episode with Tom and Ariana, your hosts and lifestyle builders. And obviously, thank you again to our guest, Pat Flynn.
Yep. And we want you guys to remember that it's your life, your business, your way. We'll see you next time.
Bye. Hey, we hope you enjoyed this episode. If you know another entrepreneur who may benefit from hearing this show, we would so appreciate you being a good friend and sharing it with them. Are you dreaming of a life of financial freedom and more time to spend with your loved ones? Want to build your business to support that dream? You need Lifestyle Builders, a mentorship program designed to meet you where you are and give you strategic and custom guidance so you can build the business you need for the life you crave. Become a lifestyle builder at joinlifestylebuilders.com. Are you a Lifestyle Builders podcast fan? We'd love to hear from you. Head on over to tomandariana.com/iTunes and leave us a review.